Welcome back to more strange videos, and let's dive in.
This monk's welfare payment failed due to facial recognition technology, so he was forced to stick on black tape as eyebrows. Okay, even we found it a bit funny. But we've done some digging, and the whole situation is more serious than it seems. Thailand's digital welfare ID uses facial recognition to authenticate people during transactions, like using a person's face as a barcode. This woman, who reportedly travelled a long distance, was actually denied food after the intrusive system failed to recognise her. The UK government recently announced plans to digitise people's driving licences, and we use facial recognition checks to verify people. Make no mistake, a digital ID is very different to a physical ID. At their worst, they can be misused for mass surveillance, to curb people's liberties, and can be abused for the tracking, targeting, or differential treatment of marginalised groups. That's why we're campaigning to enshrine your right to use non-digital ID in law.
Nothing good will ever come from digital ID. I mean, what happens if we go fully digital and we're in the year 2040 and no one can make any purchases because of a global cyber attack, or the grid goes down? I mean, who's going to have all the control then?
Here are some crazy things happening in the world right now. ChatGPT found the diagnosis for a young boy after 17 doctors over 3 years could not figure out what was causing his chronic pain. A blind man is raising concerns about Indiana gun laws after he was allowed to get a license to carry. Google has just dropped its guidelines that promise not to use AI for weapons. Everything I say leaks was a quote by Mark Zuckerberg in a leaked meeting audio. People were driving over Lake Winnebago in Wisconsin to save them hours on their drives. Beavers built a dam in 2 days that the Czech Republic government was planning to build for 7 years, saving them over $1 million. The skeleton panda sea squirt is a new ocean species that was discovered near Japan, named after its resemblance of a panda face. Joe Biden has signed with a Hollywood talent agency. The doomsday clock was just set to 89 seconds from midnight for the first time ever.
I'm all for you guys in the States to own weapons, but a blind man getting a gun license has to be concerning to you, or for you to some degree.
Maybe we should pay attention when our memories try to tell us something. From the moment her son Michael could talk, he said things that sent chills down Elizabeth's spine. He spoke of memories that didn't belong to him, moments from a life he never lived. He knew things about his mother's past that she had never shared. One day, he pointed to an old photograph and said something that stopped her cold. That was me. The photo was of Walter Miller, a man Elizabeth had loved years before, a man who had tragically died in an accident. But what made this revelation even more unsettling was that years before Michael was born, Elizabeth had a vivid dream of Walter. In it, he told her he would find his way back to her. At the time, she dismissed it as wishful thinking, but now, staring at her son, who not only looked like Walter, but shared his interests, mannerisms, and even his taste in music, she began to wonder. Michael spoke of things only Walter could have known. He recalled details of Elizabeth's past relationship, things she had never shared with anyone. The eerie connections ran too deep to ignore. As the years passed, Michael's memories of Walter faded, as past life recollections often do. But for Elizabeth, the question remains, had the man she lost found his way back to her? What do you believe?
Would that not be very weird? I mean, how would the husband feel if you turned around to him and said, you know, our son, I think he's my ex-boyfriend who passed away there some years ago. I mean, it's definitely him. You know, our son is definitely my ex-boyfriend. I mean, the poor man wouldn't know if his wife is suffering a manic episode or even if the son is his.
Literally, everyone who went here left with demons, and this just happened. But this gets bizarre crazy, because what if I told you that The Weeknd has been hinting at something really big coming? And I'm being very serious. He's been pointing to this right here for months, and it is upon us. I just uncovered the end result. So right before I get into that, I noticed the comments in these videos were full of fear. That's the thing with demons. Even if you aren't scared of them, they can elicit fear in you. And it's a very unnatural fear. It's like you're laying in bed and this huge wave of fear randomly comes over you. That's the same exact fear that these demons will elicit. So do you remember his Ethiopian-style concert? Remember this figure that was trying to break out while he was being the high priest of the sun, or Lucifer? And everything I'm showing you is coming off of his page. What do you know? It's the same exact person, but look at the third eye. The infinity symbol, or it's actually come a way to make the Ouroboros symbol, showing their supposed cycles of the earth and the end of the cycle. The serpent eating his own tail. You know who that serpent is, right? So you know who this is, meaning the decoding for this concert I did a few months ago was right. But he was born being the high priest. Him and his mom, and you know what that symbol is, right? And in the high priest robe he says it is the way it has to be. Because this is By the way, this is him. Notice the light sport going into him. These people surely do have different blood, and they're on a mission to bring their God and their father to the forefront. And also this. Believe it till it's true. Nah, I'm just being stupid.
Over the past decade or so, what I've noticed is that these artists all come out, somewhat innocent and harmless, and it's almost as if they do this to gather a huge following, and then after a few years, these people just turn into dark, almost satanic artists, like a piper who plays his flute who leads his followers to destruction.
There's a group of people that are born with, we'll call them superhuman abilities, supernatural abilities. It's really a bad term for that. It's just abilities that they have strong consciousness and awareness of. And it has to do with the blood. It has to do with an anomaly that's in the blood. So I told this story, and in the Brotherhood, it's a private organization. I was born in 1963, by the way. It's a private organization that would pick certain people, either from a genetic bloodline family, and they were allowed to join. And then they would find some anomalies, somebody who wasn't from a genetic bloodline family, but had this anomaly in their blood, this genetic anomaly, which allowed them and the brain to do certain things. But just recently, I had a brain scan done and a whole series of tests with radioactive isotopes to see what parts of the brain light up. And all I can tell you is when this was looked at, it's like these parts of the brain, how they're lit up and why they're lit up is, I've never seen it before. And I said, well, I know what I'm doing with the brain. And the reason you haven't seen it before is you haven't seen people like me. You haven't also looked at the brain scans of Tibetan monks. So I showed them the brain scans. You can see. So you have the average normal baseline. And then you have some, we'll call it, spiritual enlightened person, self-realized person, and perfected master, or Tibetan Buddhist monk who's been meditating his whole life. And you have people like myself who are in the Brotherhood. Let's look at our brains. And we know how this works. It's the hardware. It's the hardware. The brain has a lot to do with success, happiness, joy, so many things. We forget about the hardware of the brain.
So by definition, if you change the hardware and changed your perceptions, beliefs, values, and what have you, then will you develop that anomaly in your blood and pass that down? I mean, it's somewhat vague here.
People who survived unsurvivable things. Endumiso Mona. This man fought with a leopard and killed it with his own bare hands. Rommel Broom. He survived 18 lethal injections. Tsutomu Yamaguchi. He survived 2 atomic bombs. Anatoly Bagorsky stuck his head in a particle accelerator. Jacob Miller. He got shot between the eyes and survived. Dick Williams survived the Titanic. Julianne Kopke. She survived a plane crash. Aaron Ralston survived after 5 days of being trapped in a canyon. Vesna Valovic. She survived a 33,000-foot fall when her plane exploded.
The craziest one for me is falling 33,000 feet, knowing that you're going to pass on, yet somehow you survive.
If you don't think we're already in the real life Hunger Games, watch this.
Are you coming to the street? A strong man is safe.
While the rich fancy around in their award shows, we live like this. I'm telling y'all, this is the real life Hunger Games. Like George Carlin said, it's a big old party and you ain't invited. They don't teach us about money in school for no reason, y'all. This system in society was designed this way. It's not by accident. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay weird.
It used to be that the middle class was still very well off, but nowadays stats are showing that the middle class is actually being wiped out, and soon enough it'll only be the poor and the filthy rich that will remain.
If you drink coconut water, you might want to check your fridge. Right now, more than 2 million cans of coconut water are being pulled from shelves. The FDA has issued a recall on 12 can cartons of Jarritos coconut water. According to them, a seal on the can could break, and that could lead to contamination with harmful bacteria. The recall is currently in place across 29 states, including Texas. So if you have some in your fridge, they say just throw it out.
I keep telling y'all, many different stores have different chemicals and different ways to bring you to an early grave. You ever had one of your family members come out of nowhere and get diagnosed with something else that nobody else has in the family and ever had? You're either drinking, spraying, or rubbing something on yourself that's chemically toxic. Walmart, Target, a lot of different big stores, toxic. But once you look at the owners and how toxic they are, you understand why. They don't care about your life. I know a lot of you guys ask yourself, well, what is the alternative? Yes, there is an alternative. There are different stores that you can shop at that are not toxic, but in fact are healthy. Not only that, but different stores who are owned by God-fearing individuals. There's a whole movement going on with millions of people who already know about this. The question is, do you know about this? Guys, if you don't know about it and you want to find out about the movement, click the link in my bio or the link in my caption. It'll be somewhere where you guys can find out about the movement. I've joined the movement. My family have joined the movement. We gave up on toxic trash. So it's only right for me to share the same solutions with you. Check the link, get involved. God bless you. I love you. Shalom.
I don't consume coconut milk unless I'm cooking something like a curry, but I can't help but feel the reason for the quality of food going downhill over the past few years is because of the fact that there's an increase in automated machinery and the increase of job losses within that sector. I wonder if we'll get to hear about the whole Diddy case once it takes place and who was involved. I mean, we're still waiting for the Epstein list to be released.
So did I just hear that some kid, 19-year-old kid that Elon Musk hired, is just cracked the code on the deep state. He's the one who's helping push all this stuff out, like exposing all this deep state shit. And he's a reformed hacker, which to me is even better. Like, I love that. I don't know why, I just do. And he's from Canada too. Like, there you go, Justin Trudeau. Your home. I'm just, man, I don't even know what to say right now. It's just awesome. I love that. So just saying, you know, when we all unite, we all start kind of actually working together here. It works. And shout out to, I don't even know this kid's name. He goes by Big Balls apparently, which is, the dude must, I mean, shit, he must have some big balls. Fuck. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I like this kid. Fuck yeah. Run it, bro. See what else you can find. Keep going. Fuck CNN for hating on you if they say anything. Like, doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah. Good job, Elon Musk, Trump, and the kid Big Balls.
I'm not sure what all this guy has done, but a person who's able to crack the code to a deep state should not be called Big Balls, but should be called Sir Big Balls.
Santísima Virgen. Apenas está saliendo, ¿verdad? ¿Qué pasa, Virgencita? Mírale, mírale. Sí, ya le miré, apenas se está resbalando la lágrima. Neredesin küçük kız? Seni bulamıyorum. Neredesin? What the fuck is that? What do you want? I'm ducking down, man.
Play cards with spirits. They're always alert. They always come out and bring other ones. See, I was just playing with this lady, an older lady, about half hour ago, and now here comes this other lady. See, you guys need to bring more people that know how to play cards.
There's no doubt in my mind that demons are real, but unfortunately I can't say the same for some of these clips.
See this? Because you've got pictures, and we're going to see these are pictures of a classroom, and this classroom is known to you. And we've just done a report from Scotland where teachers are going on strike in Kirkintilloch there today about violence in the classroom. So let's see your pictures here. Tell us what.
So these are pictures taken of a primary school class on Friday, and it was the kids that did the damage.
Right, so this wasn't hoodlums on a Friday night or a Saturday or vandalism. So they did that in their classroom?
They did. They did.
For people listening on the radio, what can we see?
We could see utter carnage. There's Lego all over the floor. Every single piece of furniture has been pulled apart. There is fluid on the ground. There's paint everywhere.
If that happened in my day, they would be in school all weekend cleaning that up.
Yeah. Well, the children didn't clean that up. They had to get cleaners in, and the poor staff that were responsible for the children had to clean that up as well in their own time. And it's just abominable.
So what happened, Claire? These children just ran riot.
They just didn't have the ability to equip themselves with their emotions and deal with it, whatever there was going on in their lives at that time. But unfortunately, that's very prevalent. And we had the report from Kirkintilloch, and I went to school in Bishop Briggs, actually, and lived in Milton of Campsie, which is right next door to Kirkintilloch. And if staff are feeling that bad, if they're feeling that unsafe, then I'm sorry, we have to support them. Years ago, it was the parents that were the primary educators of children, schools the secondary, and it was a symbiotic relationship between the two. We had to underpin the staff, have respect for them, and give them the role that they had to educate our children. We, as parents, I believe, it's our role to make sure that the staff were supported in absolutely everything.
Right.
And we're seeing this absolute dereliction of duty with children being looked after by the state.
I'm quite taken aback by this.
That mess doesn't even look like it happened in one day. I mean, it is the responsibility of the teachers and the system to ensure that there is discipline grounded during class. Meanwhile, kids in UK schools are being isolated in dark rooms from 9 AM to 5 PM for things like, you know, not wearing coloured socks or not bringing their PE kit in, despite knowing the child has like a medical condition and can't actually attend physical exercise. I mean, it seems like it's all going backwards.
Did you know this vampire castle hat worn by Jaden Smith could have connections to a cult? During 2025 Grammys, Jaden wore vampire castle headpiece by a designer known as Abode Transylvania. The all-black castle-shaped headwear was crafted by an artist Shilvish Tramako, making these weird house hats. He drew inspiration from Vampire Castle in Transylvania and their legends. The piece, priced at €4,500, features cutout allowing Jaden head to peek though. So what does it mean when person wears house on their head? In witchcraft and occult, wearing the house on someone's head could be for protection or spiritual intention. A house-shaped hat may involve themes of entrapment, isolation, or carrying a haunted or burdensome past. In some occult practices, houses or dwellings can symbolize the psyche, and a hat shaped like a house might represent hiding one's true self or thoughts. But what do you think?
This is the true definition of having more money than sense.
A man from Poland is walking through a secluded forest when he finds an abandoned house. However, there's something about this place that doesn't seem right. Oddly, for some reason, the owners of this house had left most of their stuff behind. It's as if they had left in a hurry. Not sure as to why there were still things inside, the man walks around with caution, thinking that someone might still be there. But as he checks out the place, things take a terrifying turn. Watch. Out of nowhere, the house comes alive. Things move on their own, and a musical box begins to play by itself. Although we don't know the property owners' names, their pictures can be found throughout the house. But whoever they were, they must have left the place at once for obvious reasons. It's unknown where this house is located, but given what happened in this video, there's no need for an address. Whether actually haunted or not, the setting of this place is creepy alone. But of course, let me know your thoughts on this one.
If you come across an abandoned house with an upside down cross, then you know you're just walking into trouble.
What is this anti-gravity patent I just found? This is from 2016, and specifically they're calling it a craft using an inertial mass reduction device. Let's talk about it. This really needs like a 3-hour video, but it's TikTok, so we'll summarize. It was awarded to the United States Navy, clearly, invented by this guy, Salvatore, and it describes a revolutionary propulsion system based on inertial mass reduction, Schrödinger equation, curvature, and negative mass. Anyone remember that? So the patent proposes that strong electromagnetism can interact with the quantum vacuum, altering gravity. And if you're not already tracking, this also means zero-point energy, using high-frequency electromagnetic waves to alter the local vacuum state, leading to a reduction in the craft's inertia. That means no G effects, negative mass-like effects, anti-gravity. In principle, it's basically using resonance, vibration, rotation, and microwaves, which are a form of electromagnetic energy, to literally give anti-gravity and free energy. 2016. And just to be clear, this would work in any domain, meaning the space, the air, or the ocean.
Isn't there theories that Hitler already had this anti-gravity advanced technology, and from it he created the Die Glock, which was a bell that had like anti-gravity free energy abilities as well as time travel?
In Oklahoma, a man set up a security camera in his barn as a few of his cows had recently gone missing. One night when he was working on his car, he heard a loud crash. One of his missing cows was back inside the barn with wood scattered everywhere and a large hole in the roof of the barn. When he reviewed the footage, he saw something extremely strange. The missing cow returns crashing through the roof of the barn. This video led to many speculations online, some people claiming cows are known for standing on rooftops and it probably just fell through the wood while it was standing on the roof. Others claim that the way it fell looked like it was dropped from high in the air, pointing towards a UFO abduction. What do you guys think happened? Was this an attempted alien abduction type situation? Or did a cow just wander off on its own at night and decide to... Let me know what you think in the comments.
Our beef is so contaminated that when the aliens decided to abduct one of our cows and eat it, they had to leave crop circles in the field that spelt out SOS.
As of the 10th of February, you could be eating bugs in your food. Yes, bugs. So, the EU has given the okay for food manufacturers to start putting into your food ground up mealworm larvae. It's dried out, ground up into flour, and then it will be mixed in with jams, cheeses, pasta, bread, and probably a variety of other foods. So if it comes from Europe, as of the 10th of December, there's a good chance it might have mealworms in it. Hope you enjoy. Feel free to leave a comment or leave us a like or a follow. Be much appreciated. Love to you all. Thanks.
So we've got bovine and dairy, we've got fake meat on the shelves in the UK, we've got chemicals on fruit and vegetables, now we've got maggots grinded up in anything that uses flour or thickener. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you think there's a bunch of rich investors out there trying to kill you.
Special look inside the first UK commercial clinic, which offers to clone your pet after they've died. Gemini Genetics clones dogs, cats and horses using a small sample taken from a recently deceased animal. Laws in the UK prevent the creation of an embryo here. Instead, the samples are sent off to the United States. It does, though, come at a substantial cost, around £50,000 per cloned animal. But what do the owners themselves think of their new pet? And does it have the same personality? It's all a long way from Dolly the sheep, as our science correspondent Martin Stew reports.
The joy of spending time with your favourite four-legged friends, for many, is priceless. For Tom Rubathon, he knows exactly the cost.
I don't know, they're showing off for the camera, I think.
Myrtle and Mabel aren't just like his previous dog Daisy.
Metal.
They're genetically identical.
Look at me.
Clones created in a Korean lab for £40,000 each.
My wife thought I was crazy. I actually didn't tell her till they arrived. I had a nice Mercedes sports car and I had a classic Mercedes sports car, so I sold both of them to raise the money. So really I sort of swapped having a nice car for having two dogs. The dogs win out every time.
Tom had to fly a scientist in from Seoul to take samples. Gemini Genetics is now offering that service in Shropshire.
Once your pet's passed away, you have 5 days within which you need to get the DNA preserved for cloning. So to clone an animal, all we need is a 6mm area of skin.
Once preserved, the samples are then frozen to minus 196 degrees. Customers then have a literal cooling off period before deciding whether to commit the full £40,000 to clone their pet. For legal reasons, that bit is done abroad. There, scientists take a donor egg cell, remove the nucleus which contains the DNA, and implant one of your pet's cells in its place. An electrical impulse triggers the cell to become an embryo, which is then implanted in a surrogate mother. She eventually gives birth to your pet's genetically identical twin. So your pet's personality and genetic makeup is all contained in those tiny cells?
Yes, so they have the exact same DNA to become the same as the original. But environment can influence every living being, whether that be plant, human or animal. So the extent of similarity, they will share many common characteristics. But for a full similarity, we need to provide a very similar environment. Jump! Come on, let's get it.
In the case of cloned Cocker Spaniel Gem, she's a little more sociable and into tennis balls than her working original. The cloning process was pioneered in Scotland. Dolly the sheep, the first, back in 1996. Pretty soon after, cloning was banned in the UK for fear it could spread into humans. But that wasn't the case in the USA, where Gem here was born. And there, the technology has been coming on in leaps and bounds. Particularly in the world of equestrian. Merker's Gem is a stud stallion. A dose of his sperm sells for £1,000. It's genetically identical to his originals, Olympic silver medal show jumper Gem Twist.
Arguably the greatest show jumper in the history of our sport.
And just last month, 2 identical clones of champion horse Chilly Morning finished with identical scores in dressage at the Eventing World Championship. Clones can now even compete at the Olympics. What would you say to people who are worried about the ethics of cloning and question whether you're just trying to cash in on people's grief?
I think that there are going to be people that have their own opinion on the technology. In the human sphere, so people use IVF to conceive a baby, and this is really just another form of IVF-assisted reproduction.
Gemini has already stored samples of thousands of cats, dogs and horses' DNA. So far, 200 have been sent to America for cloning. But post-Brexit, there is scope to legalise the process here, enabling more like Merker's Gem to be born, and potentially driving down the cost for customers like Tom, though he has no regrets on spending his life savings recreating the doggy love of his life.
If you have dogs, you love them, but when you get the special one, that's why you do it, I suppose. They don't replace the dog, but they're just the same sort of dog that you know you like, so you have the same relationship with them, really.
The RSPCA says time and money will be better spent rescuing pets already in need of a new home.
how long before the process starts for humans? I mean, there's already technology for DNA, uploading brains to a server, technology for understanding our personalities, traits, and memories. And also, if you could, would you clone your own dog?
Geronimo!
Excellent.
Because
Can you hold this?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to come in and have some ramen?
Yeah.
Do you want some water?
Thank you.
Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
Do you remember where we met for the first time?
Yeah, on the street.
There's something in your eyes.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, did you see? You went viral.
Really?
We saw someone sweeping the streets. We took him in and gave him some water. We asked him where he lived, and he said,
on the street.
He touched our souls, so we decided to give him free ramen from Ramen Roma. He was so happy that he started crying. Like this video so that we can continue changing lives.
Months are there in a year? 12. Exactly. How many weeks are there in a year? 52. Good. However, 12 months, well, 12 times 4 is 48. And 52 minus 4 is 48. Doesn't take a genius to work out we've got 4 extra weeks. And what do 4 weeks make? A month. There are actually 13 months in a year. We are being paid for 12 months work and we are doing 13 months work a year.
That's all I have for you today, everyone, and thanks very much for watching. And if you enjoyed the compilation, smash that like button and subscribe button if you haven't already, as it really does help push the video out. But until the next video, stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you then.